Hi guys, it's Alexander here and welcome to another video. Today I will cover chromatic scales and how to get better at playing them. So for the first section of this tutorial video, I thought I would cover what chromatic scales are briefly. So chromatic scales are 12-note scales, and between each note in the scale there is a semitone step or jump. So for instance, if you have a C chromatic scale, so C is the tonic note, the note you begin with, then you will ascend up a semitone to C sharp, and then a semitone from there to D, and then to D sharp, and so forth. Chromatic scales can be played in an ascending sequence or a descending sequence, or in fact going ascending and then descending, just like major and minor scales. And you can play them across multiple octaves on your clarinet. So you don't have to restrict yourself to just one octave, but you can play across multiple octaves, such as 2 octaves and 3 octaves. So that's just a brief overview of what chromatic scales are. So for the next part of my tutorial video, I thought I would cover why I think chromatic scales are so important to add to your clarinet practice. So the first key reason is that they will really help you develop your technical playing abilities. So practicing the different patterns in ascending and descending sequence will really help you just improve on your finger pattern movement and finger pattern recognition across different octaves on your clarinet. And to improve, you can start by, for instance, playing very slowly and then gradually increasing the speed and just practicing over and over again until you can practice at very quick speeds and master and remember all of the notes for each chromatic scale. Another great way to improve is, for instance, if there is a piece of music and there is a chromatic scale embedded within that piece of music, then you can just take that certain section out and practice just that section and focus on it until you get it right over and over again. I think the second most important reason is that with chromatic scales, composers love to add and use them in pieces of music in order to add color, suspension and effect. So practicing them beforehand and really working on many different chromatic scales will really help you prepare for when you are encountering different pieces of music, and sometimes you'll have to play those chromatic sequences very quickly. So I think for those two key reasons, chromatic scales are super important to add to your clarinet playing and your general practice. So for the final part of this video, I have decided to give some demonstrations of how to play some chromatic scales on the clarinet, and I thought that I would play firstly an E chromatic scale. So I will tongue the notes, I'll play in an ascending and descending sequence, and I'll cover 3 octaves of this particular chromatic scale on the clarinet. And once more, like last time, I have some music notation for you to follow along with whilst I play. So have a listen to how it should sound like, and feel free to follow along with the music notation. So that's an example of an E chromatic scale. The next example I have for you is a G chromatic scale, and this one will be even more challenging because I'll be going to a very high G on the clarinet, and then I'll descend back down to the low G I started with, and so I really have to keep that intonation intact. So once more, there's some music notation for you to follow along with, and I'll start playing. So there you have it. Those are two examples of chromatic scales on the clarinet, and there are many more, such as D chromatic scale and C chromatic scale and an A chromatic scale. And overall, I think that they are such a great tool to add to your clarinet playing. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was able to provide some useful insights into chromatic scales and the benefits of adding them to your practice routine. And if you did find this video helpful, then don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to stay tuned for future videos. Thank you so much. Take care.